Our top stories tonight: Limpopo elects new leadership and President Ramaphosa commends them for their discipline. The ANC condemns the explosion at a Zanu-PF rally in Bulawayo as the country prepares for elections in 1 month. This is eNews Weekend Edition, live from Cape Town. I'm Tony Ndoro. Now, ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa has commended the party's Limpopo membership for its discipline. He spoke as the Provincial Elective Conference wrapped up in Polokwane. Stanley Mathabata was re-elected unopposed as provincial chairperson. The conference was almost halted, though, through a legal bid. But yesterday, the South Gauteng High Court struck the matter off the roll. Ramaphosa has called on members to stop taking the party battles to court.
I will also want to use the opportunity to how it has now become fashionable and how it has now become a newfound passion of people to take the ANC to court. In order to curb this new phenomenon, the ANC is now seized with the possible ways and means of how we can improve our own internal processes in a way that will make it impossible for manipulation of processes in the ANC aimed at achieving a predetermined electoral outcome. We need to do this if we want to curb this newfound sport and passion of people who always want to take the ANC to court. For instance, this conference could have been stopped if those who had wanted to take it to court had succeeded. And in the end, the court had good cause to say this conference must continue, and we are pleased that you are continuing with your conference.
At the same time, Ramaphosa says unity is the only way to ensure the ANC's long-term survival.
Our movement is currently weathering very strong winds. We are, however, encouraged to continue in our efforts to unite the ANC and to strengthen it simply because we know that a weak and divided ANC is a very handy tool in the hands of those who want to see the ANC lose. We must therefore not play to the gallery by giving our enemies the satisfaction of a weak ANC.
Now, the Joint Constitutional Review Committee's public hearings shouldn't be viewed as a threat to anybody's livelihood. The committee responsible for reviewing Section 25 of the Constitution will embark on public hearings this week. It's urging South Africans to participate and air their views on land expropriation without compensation. So far, the committee has already received 700,000 written submissions on the matter. Our reporter Kaili Kumalo has the details.
And everybody has committed that we don't want to make a spectacle of the roadshows. Members of Parliament will go and listen, regardless of the views that come out, and then take those views into consideration when we do our final report.
That's the promise from the committee's co-chair, Vincent Smith, ahead of countrywide roadshows to get oral submissions on the emotive subject of land. At the heart of the matter is Section 25 of the Constitution. The committee must solicit people's views on whether or not changes must be made to allow for expropriation of land without compensation, or perhaps leave it unchanged. But this will be a balancing act to avoid a counterproductive outcome.
We must ensure that we do not destabilize the agricultural productivity, as the President spoke about. We should not send out panic to South Africans that land will be taken willy-nilly. And we should make sure that the markets do not perceive what we are doing in a negative light.
So how does the committee plan on using these hearings, given that opinion is already so widely divided? Between now and August, the committee will be crisscrossing the country, starting in Limpopo and Northern Cape. It hopes to submit a report to Parliament by September. In the meantime, The committee has roped in a service provider to assist in perusing through over 700,000 written submissions. Khayelihle Khumalo, Kempton Park.
Police Minister Bheki Cele is expected to make announcements on taxi-related violence in Cape Town. Now, he met with taxi associations at the Greenpoint police station. Cele says the ongoing conflict between taxi associations in the city won't be tolerated. The meeting follows an incident in Delft which claimed 13 lives. The minister says the safety of commuters is paramount and the police will do their utmost to protect South Africans. Time for a short break now, but when we come back, the Gauteng Provincial Department of Community Safety has gathered in Ennerdale to kick off the international initiative against drug abuse and illicit drug trafficking. Those details coming up. Now, the Good News Church, Ennerdale Local Drug Addiction Committee and the Gauteng Provincial Department of Community Safety have gathered in Ennerdale to kick off the international initiative against drug abuse and illicit drug trafficking. Ditiro Selepe has more.
Gathered with one objective in mind, to see a drug-free South Africa. To kick off the international initiative against drug abuse, the Good News Church, Ennerdale Local Drug Addiction Committee and the Gauteng Department of Community Safety gathered in Ennerdale Township. Anti-drug activist Darlene James says society must fight against drug abuse.
There's so much they can do. They can basically just support a person that they know that is on substance abuse. You know what? We have a stigma against drug addicts, and it doesn't mean that they're addicts. We shouldn't love them. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't support them. You know, people stay in addiction for so much longer purely because of the stigma.
Former drug user Ronaldo Tiger says change starts with the individual.
Once you've made up your mind that you are not going to use drugs anymore, for whatever reason it is, trust me, you will not go and use these drugs. Or if you say, no, you know what, I'm going to use drugs, I'm not ready for change, you are going to stay where you are. So there's nothing as powerful as a made-up mind.
The Department of Community Safety is partnering in the initiative. Officials say they will play their part in ensuring the eradication of drugs.
We, as Department of Community Safety, our responsibility is drug destruction, meaning we need to make sure that those that are suppliers of drugs need to be arrested.
The initiative is set to continue tracking other townships across South Africa. Ditiro Selepe, Johannesburg.
Now, as temperatures plummet in Gauteng, young people have come together to assist those in need this winter. Under the banner of the Ahmed Kathrada Foundation, just over 600 volunteers have taken to the streets of Lenasia to ask residents for donations. Slindelo Masikane reports. All right. On now, our next story, and let's give you a recap of our top stories for this evening. And actually, nope, let's move on to another good news story as residents are actually taking it upon themselves as temperatures plummet in Gauteng. Young people have come together to assist those in need this winter. Under the banner of the Ahmed Kathrada Foundation, just over 600 volunteers have taken to the streets. And that was the story we're following there with Slindelo Masikane.
Instead of partying with friends this weekend, these young people decided to spend their time giving back to the less fortunate. They knocked on doors, asking for clothes, books, blankets, and non-perishable food items. Over the past 5 years, they've been at the forefront of organizing and running the Winter Warm campaign and Ahmed Kathrada Foundation initiative. The operation serves to not only revive the spirit of volunteerism, but also encourages communities to lend a hand and help the needy.
We are working with the city of Joburg, but the Region G, where we have a storeroom for when there are disasters, especially now in winter. We have a lot of shack fires.
This beneficiary runs a shelter for the homeless. He says the donations are going to make an immense difference.
Mainly deal with people who come through recovery. A lot of them have come off the streets, arrived with us with nothing, no clothes, no nothing. And to house and feed them is an expensive thing to do. And food and clothing which we're getting today is just a massive, massive blessing for us.
Volunteers say they want to be on the front lines of change and help alleviate poverty.
Kathy spoke about youth in his one address, and he specifically mentioned that no struggle was won in boardrooms and tables. It's out on the streets, out in with the people, and that's where it's won. So for me, it's coming down to the ground, seeing where we can help and give our energy to.
Operation Winter Warm has benefited various homes catering for underprivileged children and victims of shack fires. The foundation is also encouraging South Africans to follow the example set by these youngsters and practice Ubuntu wherever they are. Slinda Lomasigan, Lenasia in Johannesburg.
President Cyril Ramaphosa has described the blast that went off at the Zanu-PF rally in Zimbabwe's Bulawayo as barbaric. An explosive device was detonated near the podium yesterday just after the country's President Emmerson Mnangagwa addressed the party during a rally. Now, the incident comes just a month before general elections are to be held in our neighboring country. Our reporter Aldrin Sampear has the details.
And so, shockwaves reverberated across the continent. The African Union condemned the attack. 49 people were injured, including Zimbabwe's 2 vice presidents, but the target, President Emmerson Mnangagwa, escaped uninjured.
The attempts have been so many. This is not the first attempt in my life. It doesn't, to me, it's normal. I've been used to these attempts some 6 times.
His counterpart across the Limpopo River, who also chairs the South African Development Community, President Cyril Ramaphosa, reaffirmed South Africa and the regional bloc's commitment to ensuring the July 30 elections aren't derailed.
One of the bombs almost killing President Emmerson Mnangagwa of Zimbabwe was detonated obviously to launch an assault against democracy in Zimbabwe.
The phrase almost killing President Emmerson Mnangagwa raises a number of questions, including how did the Zimbabwe intelligence apparatus fail to detect the imminent threat on the life of the first citizen, especially as the country gears up for the general elections.
There are really some serious divisions within the intelligence setup. There's somebody that is probably not doing their job, or there is somebody that is probably trying to harm the president. The president has really said, according to him, that there are enemies within the party, there are enemies within the system.
While Zimbabwean police are still piecing together what happened, the Democratic Alliance's Musi Mamani has called on SADC to conduct its own separate investigation. Aldrin Sampear, Johannesburg.
Right, let's recap those top stories for you. Limpopo elects new leadership and President Ramaphosa commends them for their discipline. The ANC condemns the explosion at a Zanu-PF rally in Bulawayo as the country prepares for elections in 1 month. Okay, time for a break now, but when we come back, a group of Mexican street artists are using their talents to create artworks at the country's largest market. Stay with us.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Weather Center. We're going to start off Monday with quite a bit of high-level cloud streaming across the western parts of South Africa. At the same time, we have this weakening cold front, which is going to hit the southwestern areas, introducing light rain and drizzle into those parts of South Africa. Then later on in the day, it's going to become dry for the southwestern areas, and the high cloud will continue to move towards the southeastern areas. It will be mostly sunny for the eastern provinces. Then towards the evening, we are going to see partly cloudy skies developing over the western sections. So we are expecting partly cloudy skies for much of the Northern Cape on Monday, with Upington warming nicely to 26 degrees. It's going to stay cool to mild for the western and southern parts of the Northern Cape. Partly cloudy to cloudy skies are forecast for parts of the Western Cape with light rain for the coastal areas. Cape Town warming to around 18 degrees. We are expecting mostly clear skies across the Eastern Cape with quite a bit of high-level cloud in the afternoon, and top temperatures here are going to stay mostly in the upper teens and lower 20s, and it will stay chilly in the morning for the northern parts of the province. Clear skies are forecast across the KwaZulu-Natal province, where it's going to be mild to warm in most areas. Highs in the mid-20s are forecast for the coastal areas. A sunny one is also forecast once again across much of the Mpumalanga province, pleasantly warm from Mbombela, peaking at 25 degrees. We could see a bit of cloud over parts of the Limpopo province. It will be sunny, however, for Polokwane with a mild 23 for the maximum temperature. Sunny skies persist across much of the northwest with highs in the lower to mid-20s expected for your Monday afternoon. We are going to see quite a bit of high-level cloud moving into the western areas of the Free State, freezing in the morning for Bloemfontein, warming to 21 in the afternoon. Sunny weather continues in Gauteng, where it's going to stay mild in the afternoon. A very chilly morning is forecast around Vereeniging. Now, looking ahead to your Tuesday, it's going to be partly cloudy across much of South Africa, mostly sunny for the southern areas of the Eastern Cape and KwaZulu-Natal. Then on Wednesday, it's going to become cloudy, rainy and chilly for parts of southwestern South Africa. Mostly sunny skies are forecast for the rest of the country.
A group of Mexican street artists are using their talents to create artworks at the country's largest market. The artists want to showcase Mexico's long mural legacy, spearheaded by artists like Diego Rivera and José Clemente Orozco.
Using the tools of their trade, local and international urban artists are turning a Mexican market into the world's largest urban art space. The project is backed by the United Nations and it's aimed at celebrating the Central de Abasto's 35th anniversary. One artist says the project will see the livening up of a once dreary landscape.
The main objective is not to have a concept that could be seen from the street, which could leave a certain impression on people. It's an improvement on areas of the city that are typically grey. I am hoping it's to give a bit of color.
The market sells fresh produce and other merchandise. It is still run the way it was in pre-Hispanic times. That history has inspired the art. Some pieces feature a modern twist on ancient Mayan and Aztec gods.
The artist says he wanted his work to be a homage to the country's past.
The piece is about returning to our roots, concerning the question of remembering how we once were, how we once treated the earth, and how we lived in harmony with nature.
The exhibit showcases 30 murals from over 50 artists.
As a recap of your top stories, Limpopo elects new leadership and President Ramaphosa commends them for their discipline.
Comrades.
The ANC condemns the explosion at a Zanu-PF rally in Bulawayo as the country prepares for elections in 1 month.